Hey guys, today we're making broccoli cheese soup. I'll put a link down in the description for a printable recipe. We'll start with a small to medium sized onion. I'm using a yellow onion, but a white or a Vidalia onion would also work well here. Dice that up. A regular dice is just fine for this application. And let's head on over to the stove and get some butter melting. Grab a stock pot and adjust your heat to medium. This is around 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter. This is going to give us a little more control over our seasoning at the end. Once that's melted, add your diced onion. And as we always do when we're sauteing veggies, add a pinch of salt to help draw out the water. Also, a pinch of pepper. I'm using a white pepper here since this is a white soup. So stir the onions to mix well, and we're going to let this saute for around 7 to 10 minutes until the onions are nice and translucent but not starting to caramelize. Make sure and stir occasionally while they are sauteing. And they should look about like this now. So we're going to add a 1/4 cup of flour to the onion mixture. We're going to grab our whisk and we're going to get that mixed in really well. We're making a roux here, but we've also invited the onions to help. We want to make sure all the flour is incorporated, so break up any clumps with your whisk, kind of like this. And we're going to simmer this for 2 to 3 minutes just to cook off the raw flour taste. This is going to help thicken our soup. We'll give that a quick final stir, and we're going to add 1 pint or approximately 2 cups of half and half. We're going to start with about 1/3 just to get things going. Grab your whisk and get that mixed in. Now this is going to create a thick paste, so don't worry, that's normal. We'll add another 1/3 or so and it's going to start to smooth out. If you're using cold half and half from the fridge, you don't have to worry about lumps. Once that looks nice and smooth, we can add the rest of our half and half. So we'll mix that in and we're going to give this a few minutes just to warm up. Now we're going to add 4 cups of chicken stock. You could also use vegetable stock if you want to keep this more vegetarian. And we'll give that a quick whisking. We'll add a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and we're going to add 2 bay leaves. There's 1 and 2. Go ahead and mix that in pretty well. Well, it looks like we have a bay leaf here trying to skirt his duties, so let's get him back in there. And we're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. So while that's simmering, let's get our broccoli and carrots ready. I'm using 2 small heads of broccoli and cutting the florets off of the stalk. We're aiming for around 4 cups of broccoli in total. And now we'll move on to the carrot. I like to shred the carrot with a grater, but you could also finely dice your carrot. I personally prefer the shredded bits just to add their color and then sort of keep out of the way. That looks good. So let's head back to the stove, and after our initial 20-minute simmer, we're going to add the broccoli and carrots to the stock pot. We'll make sure we don't have any jumpers here. And give that a quick stir just to get those veggies incorporated. And we're going to let this simmer for another 20 minutes. Give it an occasional stir while it's simmering. And we're almost there now. So let's get those bay leaves out. This is important to do before the next step. There's 1 And I think I saw the second one over here somewhere. There it is. Thank you for your service, bay leaf. We can go ahead and turn the heat off now, and we're going to give this a quick blend. So grab your stick blender, or as it's known around here, the motorboat. And I'm basically just looking for big chunks of broccoli to blend, just to smooth it out a little bit and add a little additional body. You can blend this as much or as little as you want, depending on your preference for a smooth soup or a little more chunky soup. The broccoli is going to be nice and tender, so either way, it's going to make a nice soup. This is also why we removed the bay leaves first. You really don't want those getting caught up in the blender. Now on to the final ingredient, cheese. This is about 2.5 cups of shredded white cheddar cheese. I'm using a white so it doesn't turn the soup orange, but you could use regular cheddar as well if you don't mind the additional color. So make sure and get that nice and smooth. The soup should be plenty hot enough to melt this cheese right in. So mix that until it's nice and smooth, and we're almost there now. The last thing we want to do is taste for salt and pepper. We've only added a pinch of salt so far to sweat the onions, and we used unsalted butter, so this is likely going to need some salt, but the amount depending on your chicken stock and cheese you use is going to vary, which is why I don't have a set amount in the ingredients list. Salting is a very subjective thing, so I encourage you to play around with it. A lot of times a bland dish simply needs a pinch or two more salt, so don't be shy, it's going to really bring out the flavors and brighten up the dish. I probably added another half to 1 teaspoon of salt here, 1 pinch at a time, and then taste. Each time I added salt, I also added a pinch of pepper. And I am using coarse kosher salt, which has larger grains, so it's a little harder to oversalt using pinches compared to a fine table salt. And now we enjoy our fresh homemade soup. It pairs well with a nice piece of cheesy bread. Delicious. You can see I still have some nice pieces of broccoli in there, which makes this feel a little heartier. So I hope you give this soup a try, and I'll see you in the next one.